Just in case you're all wondering, we're just waiting for the live streaming to be confirmed.
So I should quickly compliment Director Herford on his sweater. Here is some shortbread for you.
Yeah, thank you. Only a couple weeks a year is it socially acceptable to wear, so I make the most of it.
You can wear it whenever you want.
It's the best today.
All right, we are live streaming our Director Rainbow and Director Crompton here. You're not here, neither of you. Cool. All right, we're going on. All right, so we're calling the regular board meeting back to order. No, we're not. Kristen, go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. We are just closing off the open committee of the whole.
Okay.
So we just need to, we're item 11, adjournment.
Why didn't I do that before? Could I have someone adjourn the committee of the whole? Moved by Director Herford, seconded by Director Birch-Jones. Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. We will come back into the regular meeting. And we are on 8.9, which is a direction request. I believe we have staff standing by to speak to the Jack Webster Bridge project.
Yes, that is correct, Chair. I'll admit Mr. Lawyer as well as Director Belsham. So they'll stay for each other's report. And when we get to the next report, I also have Ms. Mcdonald to admit.
Okay. Okay. Welcome, Director Belsham, Mr. Lawyer. Thank you for being here. We're on 8.9 and we are discussing a direction request for the Jack Webster Bridge project, Paradise Valley, Misty Lane, and survey plans.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got a little bit of a report I can give you and an update on where we're at, and then go into each of the questions that we put forward. So through the chair, in the past few months, we've accomplished a considerable amount actually with the Jack Webster Bridge project and the surrounding area. We've completed installation of the new bridge and we removed the old one. We're continuing to reach out to BC Hydro about some shortcomings on the project, and they are going to actually move forward and do something. And an hour ago, I was on the phone with BC Hydro actually, and they responded positively to putting in some more concrete barriers, signing the bridge, and actually trying to fix the approaches to the bridge. And we will also be doing a site visit there early in the new year. So things are moving along there. We still have some issues, obviously, with reporting requirements that we have to comply with on the bridge grant process. That's going to take a little bit of time, but I think we can resolve that one by hopefully February 2022. We don't have a service area for the bridge, so we don't have any ability to pay for maintenance or asset management work or any of those type of things once we actually take control of the bridge. So we will be talking a little more about that in the future, near future. That's the Jack Webster Bridge. We were successful with getting an infrastructure planning grant from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, and that allowed us to take the existing funding that came from the Area D Director to do a small amount of survey work and literally ladder that up into about $15,000 so we could do more work on the bridge itself, the surveying that and surveying the surrounded area so we can confirm where the roads are and where Misty Lane was. And generally, where the various properties were and how everything tied in together. Specifically on the survey work that we had done by Highmark Land and Survey and Engineering, it confirmed the location of the bridge, and that's within the boundaries of the district of Squamish. Right on the edge, but it's in there within their boundaries. Confirmed the location of Paradise Valley Road within the BC Hydro lands right of way, and confirmed the location of Misty Lane is with Crown Provincial Roads, and either with MOTI or FINRO, one of the two should have jurisdiction over that. We have plans and profiles for the Paradise Valley Road and the Misty Lane now, so we can hand off to Director Belsham, and she can actually plan for some bits and pieces of maintenance there. On the Paradise Valley Road and Misty Lane itself, we continue to gather data on these roads. There is a service area in place to do snow removal, dust control, and annual grading on Paradise Valley Road. There is no service area to cover anything to do with Misty Lane at this time. We got a report in the EOC that there was some damage to the road from the weather events that took place in that area with flooding and such. And the EOC requested estimates to improve and provide future weather events protection on Paradise Valley Road. The estimates for improvement on that road, 1 kilometer road, came in at approximately $1 million to bring it up to the standard, and approximately $162,000 just to fund the emergency works on the flooded out area of that road. At this time, I think what we found is that neither the province nor BC Hydro are willing to complete those necessary road improvements at this time. And once again, there's no service area to cover any Misty Lane costs that may come up. One more thing, the parking lot itself, there's been mentioned that the residents would like to see a parking lot in that area for people that are using the trail and such, and that's going to be addressed at in another report coming on after this one. So, Madam Chair, we're seeking direction from the board and for four things right now. We're seeking direction from the board on the next steps for the Jack Webster Bridge project. Survey plan created by Highmark Land Survey and Engineering shows it's within the boundaries of the district of Squamish. So we'd like to know what the board would like to do there. Staff would request a direction on whether to establish a service area, and if so, what to include in the service area to provide funding for the new Jack Webster Bridge inspection requirements, asset management, and replacement funding requirements and ongoing maintenance costs. We don't have anything to pay for that right now. Well, I shouldn't say that. We could keep going back and forth to the area director, but it's not the best use of discretionary funds for that. We like to know whether to maintain the existing service area for Paradise Valley Road as established in bylaw 149, 1978, and policy 9.5 for the Upper Cheakamus Road maintenance policy. Or are there any changes that the board would like to see with respect to ongoing operations and maintenance of the Paradise Valley Road? And I guess the last one, Madam Chair, is whether to consider and bring back a report regarding service establishment or service amendment to include the additional costs maintaining Misty Lane. Those are the four things that we're seeking some direction on from the board.
I'll open it to questions for staff, and then we'll consider a couple of resolutions as we go. Director Rainbow, go ahead.
I don't have a question. I have some comments.
Okay, can I just get questions on the floor first for staff? Go ahead, Director Herford.
Thank you. I'm quite familiar with this area. I've passed through there fairly regularly, but I'm not sure how many properties would be up there to spread this service area out over. Do we have a rough or an exact, ideally, number of properties that are serviced there?
I couldn't give you any kind of an accurate number, Director. I'd have to go and look at the plan, and then I could come back and give you a specific number. They're classified as recreation leases at this time, as I understand it.
Okay, yeah, that information might be useful as we look at sort of what budget this service area may need to, proposed service area may need to come up with. It'd be good to understand what base we're spreading that over. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I see no other questions. I'll go to Director Rainbow for a comment or a resolution or.
Well, a number of comments to start with. That's called the Jack Webster Bridge because the original bridge was washed out years ago, and Jack Webster, who was a CKNW radio personality, whipped up a frenzy and got some money together, and the province was basically forced to put a bridge in there. When that was declared unsafe, and BC Hydro, I think I put a weight limit on it, which basically meant that the residents the other side couldn't get propane delivered, for example. If we needed a heavy truck going over there, we had to pay to have an engineer on site. What he thought he was going to do as the truck plunged into the river, I don't know. But anyway, the bridge needed replacing. We had a meeting there, which Director Crompton was at, which our MLA was at, the mayor of Squamish at the time. And the assumption by everybody was that that bridge was in the SLRD. And the position that Squamish took at the time was, we'll have nothing to do with it. It's all yours. And so the SLRD staff have proceeded on that sort of a basis. And we're now in a situation where we've now determined definitively that that bridge is actually in the district of Squamish. So one thing, and I could make a resolution to this effect, I think there needs to be discussion between SLRD staff and District of Squamish staff about the future of that bridge. You know, I don't see how we as the SLRD can sort of take over an asset that is actually within the District of Squamish and be responsible for running it, for looking after it. So that would be one point. The second point is regarding the service area that exists at the moment. I think it's completely unreasonable to expect the few people that live up there to pay for the maintenance of that road and that bridge. It would almost be like saying to Whistler, we want you to assess a property tax to your residents to maintain Cedar Sky Highway from Horseshoe Bay or from Lions Bay up to Whistler, which would be nonsense because so many other people use that road, so many businesses use that road and so on. It's a provincial road. So you look at this little road. Oh, and by the way, the bridge behind Mr. Lawyer there is the new bridge. Yep. This particular road, it's not a private driveway. It's not a private road that leads to those leased properties which are north of the bridge. That road is used by anybody that wants to go on the Cedar Sky Trail, which is our trail, which we're proud of. The road is actually posted with signs saying that it is the Cedar Sky Trail. We have businesses using it. One in particular, a rafting business, without the bridge, without that road, they've got no business. We have schools and Quest University using it to take students up there for various types of field studies. It's used extensively by the public. When we first started talking about replacing the bridge, the Paradise Valley Residents Association, which is not the group of properties in the SLRD, it's the residents within the district of Squamish, the Midnight Way and around that area. They petitioned Squamish Council at the time to get involved with replacing that bridge, because it was so important to them for recreational purposes and for business purposes. So, you know, for us to expect that small group of leaseholders, which is all, they're the only people that are taxed within that service area, for us to expect that they support and maintain that road over the long term is just, it's unfair. And with regard to those leases, you know, there was an opinion expressed when we were first looking at replacing the bridge. Well, why should we have to do their recreational leases and their water access leases? That was true 35, 40 years ago. It is not true today. Some of those leases were converted to fee simple. Some of them, which originally recreational leases, are now residential leases. And the province collects a lot of money, from those lease payments every year. And BC Assessment uses comparable properties in Squamish and other parts of Area D to come up with their assessment. And it's in the thousands of dollars. It's gone, for some properties, it's gone up from 3,000 or 4,000 to close to 20,000. That's what the province is collecting. And that road goes past all those and serves those properties, but the province accepts no responsibility whatsoever for maintaining it. So where's all this lead to? I think we have to actively advocate. We have to really work hard to get Ministry of Transport to take that road over. It's not something the SLRD should own. It's not something we can reasonably ask a few homeowners to support. There's no way we can find $1 million to bring it up to any kind of provincial standard. So we have to talk to the District of Squamish about the bridge and our relationship with them with regard to that bridge. We maybe should talk to the District of Squamish about the use of the tax money that we collect from that service area, which is specifically for some snow clearance and some dust abatement work. It's limited to that. The money is not raised to maintain and build up the road. But you know, we had to right now hire somebody from independently who has to drive all the way up there, do the work, and then drive all the way back. What I would prefer that we were doing, which happened sometime in the past, is that we contracted with the District of Squamish for their road grader when it gets to the bridge to go across the bridge, not just to turn around and go back, but to do that 1 kilometer of road. And that would be cheaper for us than bringing an independent contractor up there. So there's some work to do there as well. So resolutions, what else? Have I touched everything yet? Well, what did I say? Let's have a look. Yeah, the Misty Lane bit is that's a small matter. That could be just incorporated into the current service area, because it's a very short little stretch of road, and I think that would be reasonable. Those people that live on Misty Lane are already paying into the service area, so I think we could look at changing that. So resolutions, one that we initiate contact with the District of Squamish to discuss this issue. It needs to be staff to start with. Maybe it needs to be at the political level as well. I'm not sure.
Okay, maybe Director Rainbow will go to other comments and then we'll have something formulate out of those comments. Is that acceptable?
Yep.
Director Crompton, go ahead.
I have a different recollection than Director Rainbow about that meeting and what was happening then. I think that it was broadly agreed that the bridge was in Squamish, but Squamish was unwilling to invest money in it, was my recollection of what was happening at the time. And you know, their comment was it was put there by the province, and the province owns it. And if they want to invest in it, they can. And if the residents that live there need to invest in it, they can, was my recollection of Squamish's position at the time. I don't disagree with the rest of what Director Rainbow said. I think that advocacy at a provincial level makes a lot of sense. So I will support that if it gets on the table. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Director Birch Jones, did I see your hand?
Thank you. I was wanting to comment and then I changed my mind, but I just want to follow up and say I'm completely relieved to know that established that the bridge belongs to Squamish, in fact, and I agree with the idea of advocacy. I also have a lot of roads and bridges that need some advocacy work. So that sits just fine with me and feels appropriate for us to do.
Okay. It's too bad the mayor of Squamish isn't here. I appreciate Director Pettengill and Director Hereford being here. I don't, I know that you guys can both speak on her behalf today, but I think what we need, go ahead, Director Hereford. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll chime in on a few points. For the service area establishment or amending the current service area to support that road, I think that I know I was asking for an exact number of properties, but I know it's small, and raising the amount required seems like unreasonable math, and exactly how unreasonable is what I was trying to get at there. So I do think the provincial advocacy there is the right path forward. As to the bridge being in Squamish, there's that piece where it seems to arguably service exclusively lands in SLRD, and that I always, in my rough understandings of the lay of the land, I always had the boundary roughly in that creek, but it's just on the other side. But the district could comment more formally on that, but that's been the position that I've heard expressed. There's an issue with I'm sure elsewhere in the SLRD and I'm just becoming aware of with my work with the community forest in Squamish, is that the whole rural and resource roads and maintenance there's a whole mess of issues there, not limited just to the topics we're discussing today. And I think trying to break it down to one specific issue and one bridge to sort of advocate on is one way, but perhaps we bundle this with some other issues in this sort of field and bring that forward maybe to UBCM, if we can kind of boil it down to specific things, because I know this issue exists not just elsewhere in the SLRD, but throughout the province, and it is complex, which is why we're here talking about it today. But there's no easy answers here.
That's right. Thank you. Mr. Lawyer.
I just did a quick count, Madam Chair, and it roughly 23 lots. There may be some other lots on the other side of the Cheakamus River as well.
Okay.
There's a pedestrian bridge in there as well.
Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna take a crack at a resolution, and go ahead, Director Rainbow.
If I could just counter what Director Hereford was saying just now. I think this should be dealt with separately. And the reason I think it should be dealt with separately is because this particular stretch of road, it's an interesting piece of road. It's a BC Hydro right-of-way. And Hydro maintained it as long as they were using it to get to their facilities. They don't need it anymore. So they walked away from it and said, we don't mind you using it, but we're not having anything else to do, anything more to do with it. So that's one issue. You know, it's not an FSR, it's not a Ministry of Transport road, it's this old right-of-way. If the province had maintained its attitude towards those leases and been consistent and said they're recreation leases and they're water access, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. But they didn't. Over the years, they've tacitly accepted that people now live there full time. They've upped the lease payments. based on property value, comparable property values, but the properties they're comparing with have a road by them, access to them, a serviced road, paved, Ministry of Transport, or within a municipality. The province has created this situation. They allowed some people to switch to purchase their lots, and so they're now held in fee simple. They changed some from water access resident and recreation to residential. So they have accepted that this is now a residential neighborhood. And I think that what goes with that, especially bearing in mind the amount of money they collect, that the province should be providing more service to this area. And if the simple solution is for them, for the Ministry of Transport to take over that road. So it becomes a Ministry of Transport road. I'm not insisting or suggesting that it has to be paved, but if it were brought up to a road standard and it was a good gravel road, that would be fine. And, you know, again, yes, it's at the edge of the district of Squamish, and people that live on the other side have to cross that bridge to get to their homes. But they're not the only people using that road. There are lots of Squamish residents. There are lots of people from other parts of the Lower Mainland. There are businesses. There are educational institutions, all using that road. It's being treated as a public road, but it's not being supported as a public road. So I think that this one can be dealt with separately from any of the other issues we've got around the region. I'm not suggesting they're not important as well, but they're different from this one. And I think it needs to be dealt with as a unique situation. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to take a crack at a resolution here, just so that we can get the work started. That staff, so the board directs staff to work with the District of Squamish and the Ministry of Transportation to consider funding opportunities to maintain and upkeep of this bridge. And we can deal with these as 4 separate, or we can do it as one. That staff report back with budget and considerations, funding considerations of how this service establishment can be incorporated into our overall budget, and that the additional costs of maintaining Misty Lane be incorporated into the service establishment bylaw. And I think that's it. Is that clear as mud? Mr. Lawyer, does that help?
I think so, Madam Chair. If you could also include MOTI in the second one when we talk about the road as well.
Yeah.
And funding, because I think that's where Director Rainbow was heading on that it should maybe be looked at as a provincial responsibility for that. So if that could be included as well, that would enlarge the conversation, so we could bring back more information.
Yeah, I had that here in maybe I didn't say it out loud, but it was here on my paper. I see Director Herford, then Director Birch-Jones. Thank
you. I was more of a question around, given that it's a hydro right-of-way, is there some administrative step to have it formally recognized as a public road, and if so, does that the motion as presented sort of reflect work in that direction?
Yeah, that was my intention with the staff, to work with MOTI to recognize the road, but apparently that was not said out loud. Director Birch-Jones.
Thank you. And there may be one other very important player in this, because when I was reading the background, and I'm trying to figure out which year this happened, but maybe Director Belsham will know. When Recreation Sites and Trails BC, they were actually looking at creating a recreation site campsite here. And I thought, well, there is a very elegant solution. However, However, Squamish Nation didn't approve it, and that's a pretty important piece of information, I think. Did you want to comment, Director Elstrom, just before I go on?
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, that's a piece of information that was in the next report coming up, and it regards to the Cedar Sky Trail. And it was in 2017 that Rec Sites and Trails was looking at creating a campsite in that location. Yeah, and we'll expand upon that a little bit in the next one, but it was 2017.
Thank you. So that's pretty recent. So that's still a significant consideration, and that's a player that shouldn't be overlooked in this either, I'm afraid.
Okay, I have Director Demare.
Thank you. I would like to see a study of the different users and of that road. So how many people are the property owners or people visiting the properties? And how many people are going down farther down the road, and what they're doing, what they're actually doing. I think without that, you're going to have a hard time convincing Maudie. I think if we have a study done on average uses and how many people are traveling the road and using that road. I mean, I'm doing that with the Hurley and other roads within Maudie roads up here. We need to have that data.
Okay, I'm just going to go to CAO Helmer to ask if that can be captured in the current direction of asking staff to come back with a report.
Thank you, Chair. It's a little bit challenging here because I'm not sure who we would get to do that study, since Modi is not involved on that road and doesn't want to be. And because BC Hydro is no longer interested in the use of that bridge. So I think we would have a situation where we would have to advocate to get that done as well if we were to look for that data. And it would be the parties that don't want to take responsibility that we would be advocating to. So it certainly could be part of the solution. It would provide better information for all of us, but funding that work is going to take some involvement as well to get somebody to step up to the plate to do a study for us, just because it's such a one-off road.
Okay.
Well, if I could speak to that, do a follow-up. I think since that bridge is on Squamish District land, is that we could ask them to do it and maybe we fund it, that study. I think we're not going to go anywhere unless unless we have some data. Have to have some data. And in that study or survey, you can put, where you're coming from and what are you going to be doing and so on and so forth. I'm actually going to be doing a survey in the new year just on that Hurley and asking those types of questions. So, because it gives, without that data, it's really hard to go to any ministry or anybody and say, hey, this is what we want.
Okay. I'm going to go to Director Pettengill, then Director Rainbow, then Director Crompton. Or you've taken your hand down. So Director Pettengill, go ahead.
Yeah, just to Director Demare's point, and I apologize, my head hasn't been in our visitor management strategy, but we had been having conversations, I believe, as part of that with people about where were they going and why. And I don't know if that's to the level of detail that Director Demare has, but and I'm not sure what our plans are for this coming year, but that we may have the information or could be rolled into some of our existing visitor management work. I'm thinking possibly, and so just in the conversations with District of Squamish about some of these other topics, it might be something to raise.
Okay, thank you. Director Rainbow?
Yeah, I actually have a note here for another resolution, which was to install a static stationary traffic counter to get some numbers. I'm prepared to fund that out of select funds. So I think that just gives us numbers. I like Sal's idea better. I think it would be in addition to that if we did some sample weekends, if not on a daily basis, did the the first long weekend of the year and a couple of weekends in the summer, when we know that the traffic is going to be heavy, and we know that there's going to be a lot of recreation users going up there, and to have a manned station, or that's probably an incorrect term to use these days, isn't it? A staffed station at the bridge, and just ask those questions. Do you live here? Where are you going? Why? Not obtrusive questions, but just get some sense of where people have come from and what they're there for. So I'd be prepared to support that through Area D funds if we do that.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Director Crompton. We're still dealing with the current resolution. We can add that after. Go ahead, Director Crompton.
I had earlier said that I would support resolution to work on a strategy to approach the province. This sounds like we are developing that case, and I think we should be very pointed in the way we do everything. We do should serve the case to go to Victoria, unless there is any consideration from this group of having residents of Squamish and residents of the regional district pay for this through a local service area. And it doesn't seem to me that there is. And so I guess I hope that what our staff hears through this resolution is direction to focus all of the work on this project toward a presentation to MOTI to take this on. I will say, I am not hopeful. They have resisted this for 30 years and they have no interest at all. And so I think we'll need to be pretty creative in our approach. And that's why I am encouraging the sort of clear focus on what we're trying to develop. Otherwise, I think the residents that live on the other side of the bridge will find themselves in a position of having a whole bunch of information that makes a case for why they shouldn't pay for it, but no one else stepping up to actually do that for them. And so that's my concern. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? Is this resolution then too broad? Should we make this resolution fail and then deal with it on a piece by piece? So just direct staff to work with the District of Squamish, and then just direct staff to come back with the funding mechanisms, whether it's service establishments. How does Jack?
I'm hearing that there's no interest for a service establishment. And so I don't know why we would send staff away to investigate that option. It would sound to me like we should defeat this motion and make a case to work with the District of Squamish on a case to MOTI.
Okay.
End of sentence.
Okay, Director Herford? Okay.
I'm good. That's fine.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Okay, so I'll call the question. Go ahead, Director Herford.
Well, seeing as this MOTI piece is I agree that that's the direction we should be moving, in a joint effort that way is great. But given that it's been, I'll use Mayor Compton's 30-year number, it's been a while, and we may find ourselves needing to perform some works and on an ongoing basis until that happens. I think that service area piece as much as doing the entirety of it is admittedly unreasonable math, perhaps there's a percentage or an increase in the scope of that existing area that should be considered to get partway there, or to represent the sort of projected percentage of that they could be reasonably responsible for. I do think it's greater than 0, but it's less than 100. So whether that's an interim measure or whether that's appropriate, I don't know, but that's just something that comes to mind as we look at these longer time frame pieces with, especially around advocacy. There's sort of that practical aspect of what do we do in the next 1 to 30 years that.
Okay, so the big complicated motion that I've been talking about has not been seconded, so we can let it die. And if everyone's okay with that, we're going to let that die. And now I'm going to ask for someone with a concise motion. Tony, you had your hand up.
I'll come back to that, but a concise motion would be to direct staff to work with the District of Squamish to develop a proposal to MOTI to take over that road.
Okay, moved by Director Rainbow, seconded by Director Birch-Jones. Speaking to the motion. Anyone, any comments? Go ahead, Director Birch-Jones.
Just a question for Director Rainbow is, so now that we've established a few things that we didn't know before, what happens if we do nothing? Like the consequences, we're doing the basic maintenance on the road for the residents, summer, winter, and beyond that, the responsibility is to recreational traveling public?
I don't, if we do nothing, we certainly got 24, I thought it was 24 lots, could be 23, people unhappy with the situation. They don't want to pay any more money into that service center for the upkeep of the road. They think they pay plenty of money to the province, and the province should be using some of that money to maintain the road. So I will be opposed to any kind of a motion that suggests that we increase that service area to try to solve the problem that way. Did that answer your question?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion has been moved and seconded. I'll call the question. Is there anyone opposed? Oh, Director Demare.
I concur with Tony. We start upping up the ante on tax services for roads, that we're going down the wrong path. Because that I've had people ask me, how come you don't fund the Hurley? And I'm not going there. That's the province's responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to put this to, is the province.
Okay, so that's captured in the motion as it stands. I'm gonna call the question. Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. Director Rainbow, did you want to make a second motion regarding a traffic counter out of your select funds?
I'll have to take that to EAD because it's select funds. So I will do that at the next EAD meeting. But a comment would be if the province says, no, that road is nothing to do with us and we're not going to do anything with it. And I understand the District of Squamish position, it's not their road, and why would they want to be doing anything with it? And whose road is it? And if the residents there are the only ones putting any money into it, does that make it a private road? And could we then put a gate across there, just across the bridge on the boundary between District of Squamish and SLRD, put a gate and say residents only?
Okay, that would make for a very interesting conversation with the province and rec site species. So let's cross that bridge when we get to it.
If you're looking at what could be the consequences here, that to me is a possibility.
Okay, Director Mack and then Director Demare.
Is this not still a hydro right away?
It is, but they don't want it.
Yeah, that's fine. They don't want it, but it's still on their books. So if you were going to put a gate on the road, you might have a little pushback from them because they might be wanting it at some point, or they might need to access it. But I just find dealing with Ministry of Transport in the past 3 or 4 years has been extremely frustrating. Our roads in this area are completely deteriorating, and they don't have a plan, and they don't have the money to do anything. So it's really frustrating. So to get these people to take control of this road, that's going to be a challenge. So just wish everybody luck on that one.
Okay, we're moving on. We've dealt with this issue. We've got lots of work to do. CAO Helmer, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So 2 questions for clarification. When we said for Modi to take over the road, does that include the Upper Paradise Valley Road as well as Misty Lane that is incorporated in that? And if not, then we need to deal with Misty Lane. And the other piece is the Jack Webster Bridge was not a part of that resolution. So if we would still need some direction on what to do with respect to the Jack Webster Bridge. Do we do the same thing, work with the District of Squamish to talk to Moti, or what is that piece? Because we defeated everything to do with the 4 items.
Yes. I believe the intention of the motion was to work with the District of Squamish to come up with a proposal for the province to deal with the whole, for lack of a better term, bridge and road. Director Crompton, clarity?
Yeah, I think you modified in a good direction. I think the motion said MOTI, but that might be too specific. I think the way you said it is better, province, because it rec cites hydro, a bunch of people. And so I think that resolution makes more sense. Work with Squamish to prepare a proposal to the province for them to take over the bridge and road.
Yeah, and
Go ahead, Director Rainbow.
And it should include Misty Lane because that comes off the hydro right of way. It's on provincial land. I'm not quite sure what they classify it as, but it's a roadway, if you like, that goes down to the river and connects with a footbridge, which is another interesting situation, which we won't get into today. But the question is, who owns that, and who's responsible for it, and so on. And is it private? But that's all part of this issue, though.
Yeah. Okay. Crompton, go ahead.
I'm sorry to do this. I just think it's important to state, I think their answer is, it's a hydro right of way. These are water access only, whatever we did with taxation and all of the things that you've listed. And that is clear on their titles. And so some have adjusted, some haven't, and that is between the leasee and the province. And I expect that that's what we'll hear from them, and that they don't want to have anything to do with the bridge and road anymore, and hydro doesn't want to either. So I just would say those are all the things that we're going to have to address in this proposal. And I think that, again, I'll state this is an extremely challenging case to make. So let's do our best.
Okay. All right. Is everyone good? CEO Helmer, are you good?
Thank you. I was just having a little back and forth with our corporate officer here as to whether we had someone move and second all of that, just for clarity. So can we just to be sure we've got this correct? Kristen, you want to talk about process?
Thank you. So that was an earlier message pertaining to the whole list, CAO Helmer. So whether those 3 or 4 resolutions that the chair motioned, they were not seconded. That's what that was relating to. So we are now just back to the resolution that has been passed and how we want to deal with expanding that.
Yeah, so I think it's been moved, seconded, and carried, but it
Yes.
doesn't incorporate all these other pieces. So maybe the thing to do now would be to rescind the one you just did and to redo it again, but with the wording that the chair just mentioned about it being to advocate with, put that case together with the province and to incorporate both roads as well as the bridge.
Yes,
Would that make sense?
that was the intention. It wasn't captured. We're gonna do it
Okay,
again.
so I
We're
think the
rescinding.
cleanest thing would be, yeah.
Can I have a motion to rescind the poorly worded motion that I've further messed up? Moved by Birch Jones, seconded by Director Herford. All in favor, anyone opposed?
Carries.
Motion carries unanimously to rescind. Clarity? The
Okay.
motion on the floor is to work with, direct staff to work with the District of Squamish to prepare a proposal to the province, vague, province of BC, and all the ministries for maintenance and upkeep and further work to be done on the Jack Webster Bridge, the Paradise Valley Road, Misty Lane, and any other associated infrastructure on that side of the Jack Webster Bridge. Everyone comfortable with that? Director Herford?
Maybe clean it up to just say take responsibility
Okay,
rather than specifying that you did a good job of trying to capture the
I'm trying to
uptake
just like
and
nail
so on,
this
but just
so
like
that
this is
there's no,
to acknowledge responsibility and take responsibility for it. If you could
okay,
incorporate.
thank you. Anyone? Any comments?
I'll second it.
Thank you. So it was moved by Director Herford, seconded by Director Rainbow. I'm calling the question. Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. I'm looking for hands for last minute. I don't want any more comments on this. Thank you. Okay, we're moving along to 8.10. And I believe Director Belsham is going to speak to us about the Cedar Sky Trail in the Paradise Valley.
Thank you, Chair. Allison Mcdonald is going to be joining us, and she'll be presenting the report to the board as she's prepared it, and she's just signing on now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you. I was watching the live stream and it's about 2 minutes behind, so I wasn't quite prepared for this moment. Good afternoon. Allison Mcdonald, Parks and Trails Coordinator. The report you have before you provides information related to the Cedar Sky Trail and the recreational use of the Paradise Valley Road, which I understand you've been discussing at length this afternoon. The Cedar Sky Trail service is a regional service. The participants, District of Squamish, RMOW, Village of Pemberton, and electoral areas C and D. And Paradise Valley is the site of a major BC Hydro transmission line, a rail line, BC Hydro owned lands, Crown lands tenured to BC Hydro, unsurveyed Crown lands, and Crown land subdivisions, the recreational properties we were just discussing. And my map shows 25, but I don't know if that's correct. The Cedar Sky Trail route through Paradise Valley transitions to a BC Hydro service road on the north side of the Jack Webster Bridge. At the end of the BC Hydro service road, there's a double track trail. On the ground, you can't really tell where the road ends and the trail begins, but that's on Crown land, and it exists for another 1 kilometer and ends at an area that's popular for camping, rafting, fishing, cycling, hiking, where the Cheakamus River meets the valley. There are a couple of commercial tenures. I think Director Rainbow referred to them. There's rafting and fishing tenures that use that location. Paradise Valley residents are concerned with the volume of recreational traffic in the area and have suggested that the Slrd move its current location for staging area to just south of the Jack Webster Bridge, which we now know is the boundary of the District of Squamish, which would help alleviate the conditions on the road. So that would sort of encourage people to walk from the parking area up to the Cedar Sky Trail or up to the camping area. Without other restrictions in place, staff feel that it might be difficult to enforce recreational users walking from that area. They might still try to drive up the road as far as they can because of the 2-kilometer distance between the bridge and the beginning of the camping and recreational area. We might require other measures to change the existing traffic patterns of the area. Staff met with Rec Sites and Trails BC in preparing this report, who advised that based on previous experience, if we did try to gate that camping area, campers would likely just continue to camp there, but move further south, closer to the residential zone. Sorry, I'm skipping to my report as quickly as I can. In terms of the Cedar Sky Trail's location through the Paradise Valley, the Cedar Sky Trail Master Plan outlines the goals for the trail and states that it is unlikely that portions of the Cedar Sky Trail would remain indefinitely along roads that have low traffic volume, such as parts of Paradise Valley Road, which was mentioned specifically. The goals with regard to the Cedar Sky Trail are outlined in the master plan. The goals have us establish a safe route at the earliest possible date, get people off Highway 99 in the sort of high traffic areas first, then develop non-existent portions of the trail, so to link the existing portions, which might not be the best wilderness experience, but we're going to try to connect the trail right through the corridor. So staff have looked at perhaps extending the Cedar Sky Trail by 1 kilometer from the Jack Webster Bridge past the Crown leaseholder lots or the recreational lots. It would cost about $60,000 to $80,000, which is based on our $60 to $80 per meter cost of a 1.5 to 2 meter gravel crush trail. We haven't looked at costs for constructing a parking area on the south side of the Jack Webster Bridge. So we would require a little bit more staff time to look at that. Wanted to point out that the trail would be at the same grade as the Paradise Valley Road, essentially. So the seasonal flooding that has occurred on the road this year would have happened on a trail as well, which we need to look at as part of our operating budget. It's happened quite a bit in the Cedar Sky Trail this year. Our staff priorities for the Cedar Sky Trail did not include this additional trail, but we could look at it and realign our priorities if required. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
We'll open it up to questions. Director Herford, go ahead.
Thank you. This is sort of being brought to us as a Cedar Sky Trail and access to Cedar Sky Trail issue, but is this also bundled in here as the camping, I mean, related issue is the camping, or is this all one issue of general sort of overuse or higher traffic volumes than we'd like to see or residents would like to see in the area? Just trying to understand what the driver here.
The Cedar Sky Trail is an SLRD regional project that runs through the area. The Cedar Sky, I'm not sure that the camping and fishing and all those other things are directly related to the Cedar Sky Trail, but as a recreational use, we're sort of bundling it all together here in this report.
Yeah, thank you. I think the from a sort of user experience of Cedar Sky Trail, I think if you're going to put more an expansion and some funds associated with in that area, the section of the road that runs right through and just past the campsites is subject to flooding from time to time, and relocating the trail up onto the bench where the camping occurs would make it accessible a higher percentage of the time and possibly protect it from future maintenance issues with the flooding that is quite common in that area. So I'm having a hard time. I do see trail needs in that area, but of that sort of, what is it, 2K, maybe before it starts to climb up the hill towards Starvation Lake, I have a hard time seeing this as the highest priority section to provide to invest in. And I was also wondering why the spot at the Jack Webster Bridge was the sort of determined to be the ideal parking spot and not the sort of what appears to be more natural, the quarry that's down by the It's maybe halfway, maybe is it a kilometer further down that's noted on some of the maps, that spot actually.
Right, the Cedar Sky Trail Master Plan did choose the quarry area as the ideal staging location, but in discussions with property leasers, residents, back in 2009, that was the first time they brought up they'd rather see it at the southwest side of Jack Webster Bridge, believing that that would alleviate the traffic heading up past the residential lease lots. So on the master plan, it does show the staging area higher up.
I think some level of gating or vehicle access restriction will be required to make that spot productive, because there is a pullout there. Sorry, right where Mr. Lawyer's head is, there's a bit of a pullout there for a few vehicles, and I've rarely seen that in use, where up further people seem to go as far as they can and then sort of find a spot to offload their vehicle into the woods or off the side of the road or something to continue on. So some clear guidance there, and maybe it's appropriate to have it in both places, all the way to the quarry as the main spot with a turnaround and subsequent overflow. Just human nature, unless those structural changes are made up further, which maybe that's the option, is to do something up there, people are going to push on as far as they can despite what signage is. So whether that's I don't know. So I'm having a hard time with the investment in the trail for that stretch. If you're going to do something in that sort of 2 kilometer zone, I feel the bigger need is further north, which is almost separate. That's a Cedar Sky Trail issue, which is separate to me from the parking and access and staging area issue. And then without structural changes further down the valley, I'm having a hard time seeing it having the desired effect. I mean, providing it is one thing, but having it used, and we've, in the district of Squamish, which is my point of reference, we've had a lot of challenges with this sort of neighborhood interface to outdoor recreation and trailhead infrastructure pieces. And if it's not in the right spot, or we don't make it the right spot by providing other restrictions further downstream, then it's unfortunately it's not going to be as effective as as the residents would like it to be, and as we'd like it to be, as we spend dollars to sort of pursue that goal. Anyways, that's my 2 bits on that on that particular section.
Any other questions? Director Rainbow.
I'm trying to think if I have a question. I just wanted to comment to just make sure we understand. We're talking about exactly the same piece of road that we've just finished discussing in the previous item. And on the power poles alongside that road are nice little signs that say Cedar Sky Trail. Not Cedar Sky Trail this way, but this is the Cedar Sky Trail. So that needs to be taken into consideration. Any discussions we have about that road and who's responsible for it and everything, that we are advertising that as part of the Cedar Sky Trail. And as long as the bridge is there and the road is there, people are going to drive up there and park up in the quarry area. They're not going to park at the bridge and walk up. So no, I don't see spending money building a trail underneath the power line. I think we need to accept that trail users, whether they're walking or cycling, they're going to drive as close to the beginning of that trail as they can. They're not going to consider the trail starting at the bridge. They're going to drive until they can't drive anymore. So we need to, I think there needs to be, if we're calling it a staging area. I remember somebody at the last meeting said we don't provide parking places for our trails. Well, we apparently do provide staging areas, which is where people can leave their vehicles when they go on the trail. So I think we need a staging area at the quarry site close to the beginning of the trail.
Okay. Director Demare.
Just curious, where do the people park right now? On the side of the road?
People park near the quarry area or right at as far as they can get, at the north end of the road.
Was there ever in the plan for the staging area?
The staging area was in the plan to be located by the quarry as the other directors have suggested. So north of the Jack Webster Bridge by about 1.5 kilometers. That's a guess.
Yeah, I mean, I concur with Director Herford, because we had the same, very similar issues in Williams Lake when I was the president of the Williams Lake Cycling Club. And you want to get people frustrated to have a bunch of cars parked right beside where you want to be, or at a dead end road, and where they never had any traffic, and now they're inundated with traffic with recreationalists. And working with rec sites and trails, they've alleviated all that. Rec sites and trails actually secured property and put up proper parking areas with kiosks, and they paid for everything. So, and I presume the Cedar Sky Trail is sanctioned through rec sites and trails.
Yeah, but it has a rec number, as you can. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I would be pursuing, is having rec sites and trails put all that in, infrastructure in, which would be no cost to the SLRD.
So with the previous motion where we asked that staff work with the District of Squamish and come forward with a proposal on the road, it seems likely that we'll also have some advice on what to do with the rec sites in BC conversation. It feels like this is kind of one big issue that could be dealt with together. Is that fair to say?
I think it's fair to say that a lot of the traffic going up that road is recreation traffic that is either going to the trail or going to the fishing area or access to the river for rafting or boating of some kind.
Okay. Director Herford, go ahead.
Thank you. I was just referring to Google Map to make sure that if I had the lay of the land there correctly. And interesting enough, when I went there, they motioned that they marked that quarry specifically on Google Maps as the 2-wheel drive parking area. But as we're discussing the maintenance, it's and Director Demers' question, the road sort of just evolves into a trail. There's not a clear delineation of where that happens. So people sort of press on in that 4x4 aspect until they realize they've gone too far usually. So, but I'm curious about one of the benefits about the proposal would be if that northern bit of road could be restricted, because if we put any funds into these staging area, I was looking for that trailhead facility of some sort, there's a section of road, and after the housing, I know that the road to the housing is topic of discussion we had earlier, and it is quite rough, but it changes dramatically and gets much rougher after that as you approach the proposed parking spot. So I don't know if we're going to be exacerbating the maintenance requirement by having something nice at the end of something that isn't nice, that no one wants to take responsibility for. So I don't know. So to me, it sort of opens up a discussion to whether gates are appropriate or something else that manages how far people truly can get, and then we can frame in the maintenance requirements that way. And I don't know what the responsibility is to the tenure holders, and the camping up there is very informal. It's not a rec site or anything like that. And I think stands to have improvement, or by Squamish. I don't think the nation would be sad if it was to go away, but nor the residents. But I don't know. It's I don't think there's a clear solution here, because these two things are muddled so much. So unless we commit to some restriction, stemming the flow, and also of not only of traffic but also of the maintenance requirements, is going to be a huge challenge here. So, and nothing I've heard really addresses those pieces yet.
It feels strange to spend a lot of staff time on whether or not to build the trail until we know a little bit more about how the road will be managed And so I feel like we could, at this point, defer this conversation until we have a bit more clarity on the road. Director Crompton, then Director Herford.
Motion to defer.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay,
And can I speak to it?
yeah. I don't
I
think you
think-
speak to a deferral.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
No, we can't
I'm-
debate a deferral.
That's true. No, I'm happy to vote.
Okay. All right, I'm calling the question on the deferral.
Sorry, I need
Yeah.
to clarify. Defer until we have addressed the conversation with the province
Yeah.
on.
Okay, I'm calling the question on deferring until we understand the part on the province. Thanks. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Director Herford.
Thank you. I was just curious on how the prioritization of sort of ongoing Cedar Sky Trail expansion work goes. And I think that there's a case for the sort of that realignment, like I was saying, off the what has been the roadbed traditionally, which is does get flooded out annually like clockwork, and there is an opportunity to move it slightly. And I'm just wondered about the prioritization of that work and where those decisions happen, and if that's on the radar, because to me, like I said earlier, that's a higher priority in my mind than the section that was proposed.
Ms. McDonald.
Through the chair, that is on our 2022 work plan that hasn't been reviewed by the board yet, but I have it as a hopeful project for next year.
Thank you. That's all I need.
Okay. Thank you to all three of you for being here today. And I think we're done. All right. We're on 9.1, everyone's favorite SLRD area updates. I'm going to start with Director Demare.
Thank you, Chair Ford. I've got a few things here and all positive. BC Hydro requested from TELUS to put a cell tower up at the Terzaghi Dam at the bottom of Mission Mountain. So that's for the Carpenter Reservoir. So the tower is in now, and I was able to talk to the TELUS representative. If you remember a while back, we were having issues and we finally got a contact, and I've asked for it to go into the SLRD directory. I contacted the fellow, and he put me on to somebody in TELUS that could speak to it. And that cell tower will be also, the public can use that cell tower. So at least halfway to Lillooet, once they get it powered up, they still have to get it powered up, but we'll have cell service at that point. So it's really, really good. I also contacted BC Hydro, Sabrina from BC Hydro, our rep, and about the LaJoy Dam seismic review on their upgrades, because they had 4 proposals that they were reviewing. And the board now has decided on the one that they're going to implement. And early in the new year, BC Hydro is going to have a town hall meeting to review the proposal with the people in the Bridge River Valley. So that's positive. The other real good news is the BRVCA board at first wasn't going to have the Winterfest due to the interior health restrictions that were put on. So for the northern areas, so they've taken that off now, and we're the same as what the Cedar Sky area restrictions are. So the plan is to move forward with the Winterfest. And I'm just going to step away, but the picture that's in behind me, that's all the rinks. There's a hockey rink, a skating oval, 2 curling rinks, and a smaller skating rink. And that's on LaJoy Lake, Little Gun Lake. and family day-long weekend. And it's the Winterfest started in 2010, and it was actually at the Braylorn Ball Diamond, and the rink was put in there, and they only had one rink, and they had a curling rink as part of it. Since then, it's grown to what you see now with all those rinks, and Stoneville Club also participates in it, so they're participants, and we have food and so on and so forth. I was the lead ice maker. I've given that up for this year, and we've got a young fellow that lives at Gun Lake that's the key, and there's always been a really good team of people that participate in making the rinks, and it is a challenge because the weather, you just can't rely on the weather anymore. And yeah, and we have Blackcomb helicopters come and they do helicopter rides off the lake and so on and so forth. It's the #1 event in the Bridge River Valley. Thank you.
When is that?
Family day long weekend.
Oh,
on
just the
Saturday.
weekend?
Yeah, on the Saturday.
Okay. All right. Sounds great. Let's bounce around. Let's go to Area D.
Area D, I haven't got any exciting news to give. I was just thinking, what shall I say today? I will say an update of Britannia Beach, not the south part, which we talked about at length yesterday, but the commercial area across from the mining museum. If you go past there and just slow down enough to look at those buildings, you see that the number of them now have their foundations completely in place, and they're working on some of the others. The little yellow building that's almost next to the road, once the community hall is finished, and once they finish doing some rip wrapping along there, that will be moved so it's right up next to the community hall. I have to say that the comments coming from the residents there are really positive. They're so happy to see things moving along, and they're looking forward to being able to have a community hall again, because they haven't had one for probably 3 years now. And that was quite a vibrant community with lots of stuff going on in that community hall. So they've been really missing it. So looking forward to that. And comments from Furry Creek residents, really happy that Find Peace got their first reading. And because the questions I'm getting now are, well, when's it coming back? When's it coming? When's second reading, and so on. And so there's little bit of anxiety, but they're really happy that things are moving there as well. You've already heard me talking about the Upper Squamish Valley, and I won't bore you anymore other than to say that it's a critical area in this region, and you will be hearing more and not less from me in the future on various aspects of that valley. I'm going to stop there.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to Whistler, Mayor Crompton.
Thank you, Chair Ford. It's been a busy little while for us. We had the Whistler Sessions second meeting, which is a planning process that I talked to you about at our last meeting, bringing people from across the community together to sort of think about where we go from here and design 4 scenarios of a future reality that we could experience. It's been an interesting process, and we have one more to do before we sort of have these stories formed, which will then test a lot of the decision we make moving forward, and whether those decisions take us toward one or another of those scenarios. I think they'll be very helpful for us over the however many moving forward. And then we had our council retreat, which was really great, just talking about where we've been over the last 3 years and where we see ourselves going over the next 10 months, but then on and into the future, and how we should be thinking about our community moving forward. We had Mark Jacquard in town, who's an SFU climate economist, who is very pragmatic, and he shared a lot of interesting things with our community about how we can pragmatically take on climate change, which is interesting. Then last Friday in Vancouver at the BC Sports Hall of Fame, the Squamish Nation, Lillooet Nation, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam Nation invited the City of Vancouver and RMOW to sign on to an MOU to create an assembly that'll investigate a 2030 potential Olympics. There, as I've said to anyone who will listen to me, there are more questions than answers right now, and the agreement to join this effort led by these nations is so that we can answer some of those questions, and so that's work that will go on from here. I think that is all I have for you today, Chair.
Thank you. I'll just add that we have added 23 lots which have gone to pre-sales, and that went really, really well down in Checkmas, and 46 condos that will be ready for move-ins sometime in the spring. Those have been added to the WHA ownership program, combination of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. I had the opportunity to walk around the building, and it is exciting to see some really innovative design and very affordable homes coming available in our community. So we are excited about that. I will now go back up to Area B.
Glorious Area B. Okay, thank you. Oh, yes, I wanted to remember to thank the EOC because they've been just slogging away there and providing the reports that are so valuable. And we still have highway guys stationed at the junction of 97, 99, discouraging anything but essential travel, and also here at either end of the Duffy, of course. And it's really made a difference. It's just been essential travel. A lot of people are pretty annoyed about it. I hear lots of complaints about it, but I'm really glad that we've proceeded that way and reduced the chances of bad accidents on that road. I understand that the Coquihalla may be opened up for commercial traffic pretty soon, and then Highway 3 and 99 will follow. And selfishly, I thought, well, good, because we have some birders that would like to come up here for the Christmas bird count. So yeah, that's what we're getting ready for right now. And let's see, what did I write down? It's still, we're very much in a disaster mindset, like what's happened with Lytton and Spence's Bridge and Merritt and so on. Those communities are in various states of disarray. And they're our neighbors here. I did attend some EOC kind of debriefing post-fire for, it's called the policy group, with some of the First Nations leadership. And we're also meeting regularly with the Ministry of Forest Lands and Natural Resources about rehab post-fire with McKay. And such good work was done on Elephant Hill. We are trying to borrow from them, and I think we are going to benefit a lot from the work they did on Elephant Hill. They did some very good work in partnership with the First Nations. And the most recent presentation we had was kind of about how they managed the morel mushrooms that, of course, will come into a massive harvest post-fire, but also will bring with it a lot of visitors, problems, garbage, illegal camping, so on, and how Bonaparte and some of the Secwepemc people handled that was pretty neat. And they work with a group called Forest Foods, and I'm hoping they'll be working with us over here. Flinroe has signs up everywhere discouraging off-road traffic, trying to reduce the import of invasive species while we try and get some of those fire guards replanted for the short term. And if we could get the Guardian program going with some of the First Nations, that would be really remarkable. There's some good work going on there. I don't know if it's happening, but I hope so. And let's see, we held Plaid Friday, sort of shop local event. The Hub organized that. The Hub is busy, they're doing well. The pool is hopping busy and they're holding all kinds of classes for kids and stuff. It's really nice to see. And yeah, there, stop there, Area B.
Thank you. Go to Pemberton.
Not a lot of excitement here. We've certainly felt the impact of the road restrictions. It's not a busy time of year generally here, but there's pretty much zero visitation going on right now. So businesses are definitely feeling that a little bit of isolation on that. I think visitors are, concerned about the roads, obviously. So stopping right at Whistler and then headed back south going the other way. So we're not seeing any of that traffic, which is good and bad. Council, we're into our budget season. We've kicked that off. What else can I tell you? It's a beautiful, beautiful winter day here. I'll tell you that much. I look out my window. As I mentioned yesterday, very big news for us is it's not public, so I can say the resignation of our CAO. So he's given us a good notice, but Nikki Gilmore will be moving along, and that'll represent a big change for our organization. So that's big news. Yeah, I don't know that I have much else to report besides that. So maybe just a very happy holidays to everybody. Have a great season.
Thank you. Where haven't we gone yet? We haven't gone to Area C yet.
Thank you. We've still got issues going on Reed Road, which is rather concerning to me, and obviously very concerning to the people that live there. Our staff, Sarah and Melanie and all the staff have been working, diligently and just putting in extreme hours trying to sort this mess out there. I talked to Shannon Payne, our new MOTI area director today, which I talk to her almost every day. She's getting to know me very well. But our road maintenance, as I keep saying, and I know it's getting boring, but our road maintenance is horrible. There are potholes. I went to the Upper Meadows Fire Department practice last night. Coming home, I hit one of those potholes. Geez, I mean, that was an adventure. And I phoned her this morning because I had mentioned it to her last week, and they hadn't got around to filling it. People have hit it, destroyed wheels. It's getting so that it's really, really frustrating. I told her, like, these people just don't do their jobs, and nobody seems to be making them do their job. So at some point, I'm going to give her another week at this, and then I'm going to bring it up at our EAD meeting, and then potentially bring it forward to the board in our January meeting, because I think we need to really put the pressure on the government. I know they've got stuff going on everywhere, but the contractors that they've hired to do their jobs are not doing their jobs, and nobody's making them live up to the contracts. The Little River Bridge now, they're saying it won't be repaired until the springtime, and it's just beyond believable. Mayor Richmond would definitely know that. He travels it as I do every day, pretty much. So we've got just concerns. I worry about, people driving into town to do their business and getting into an accident or worse. So just have to keep on top of that. I'm looking out the window here now in Darcy, and It's absolutely gorgeous, blue sky, mountaintops all covered with snow. Well, everything's covered with snow. So it's a wonderful time of the year. And as the mayor said, happy holidays to everybody and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Hope everybody has a great time. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Mack. Squamish. Who's going to speak?
I'll take a stab at it.
Okay.
So lots going on. Kind of, I don't know, for some reason I always imagine it's going to slow down in December, but it doesn't seem to. So we had a busy committee of the whole, chaired by Councillor Herford on Tuesday. And we talked about the Brennan Park Field Master Plan, which has been in the works for quite a while, and that got council support with a bit of feedback, but basically gives the whole community a lot of direction and some more certainty about where we're going, what the opportunities are, a lot of cool ideas planned for those fields, and so glad to see that get support. The oceanfront has acquired some new properties, so we were talking about how that fits, how that can fit into a sub-area plan. Crumpet Woods, which is a big development in the southeast part of Squamish. We saw the results of the first phase of engagement. So that is moving forward, and lots of concern around environmental impacts, housing forms, that sort of thing. I think just at the end of November, I was able to attend the 1-year celebration of Under One Roof, and just a reminder of how fantastic a facility that is. The thing that always stands out to me, and I think we just had a presentation at the SLRD last month about avoiding food waste and so on, and they have a really cool grocery store there where food that might otherwise just get started, but it's totally great food, is there, and you go in and it's like a grocery store and you pay what you can. And so if you want to support it, you can pay a bit more. If you need to take a little bit, you can. And so it's really open to the whole community and not just people who are in need of food. So it's a really, really exciting model and space, and it just makes you feel so good when you go into Under One Roof. The following day, because I was serving as acting mayor last month, so I got to attend some of these events I don't always get to attend. Got to walk through the Foundry, which is for youth clinical and mental health services, but they're also experimenting and combining it with our youth hub. So it's not fully built yet, but we got to walk through and sort of see how it's shaping up. Saw Director Rainbow there, and this is a project that is supported well by Area D and the District of Squamish and the province. So it's really exciting to see that move forward. And then one that's, I guess, a little more personal to me, but I think still applicable, as part of Giving Tuesday, Indigenous Life Sport Academy did some fundraising, and they evolved out of the First Nations snowboard team, and now they do snowboarding and mountain biking, skateboarding programs for Indigenous youth. It's just really fantastic programming. I got to snowboard with them before the pandemic, and just seeing the impact on the kids is so fantastic. Why the fundraising is cool, it's because this is a corridor, mostly Whistler focused group, but they now have funding to expand across BC. So they're looking at bringing their programming across BC. And so sort of a Whistler Cedar Sky corridor born organization. It's really exciting to see them grow and spread. So lots of cool stuff happening.
Very cool. Thank you. Director Herford, go ahead.
I'll just add a couple of bits to that. Coming up, we've actually been also really busy through our budget process, and we'll be moving to adoption on Tuesday. So, which is a big thing for us organizationally to get move the time frame earlier. Yeah, that's been, hopefully we'll see the fruits of that effort of being able to go to market earlier with our projects. Also, I think since the last SLRD met, the one piece I really wanted to get in was the new Squamish Housing Society. It's just, we just did the conclusion of that work, which gets us to the start line. So it's funny how these projects are such a long term, but housing affordability is a huge challenge in Squamish, as I know it is throughout the communities in the SLRD and the province. and looking forward to that work really kicking off in the new year and moving on to the next phase of running and managing and positively affecting the housing affordability in Squamish. So yeah, so it was nice to hear Director Ford's update about the work in Whistler, and it's definitely inspirational. And there's certainly pieces of that we look forward to pursuing in Squamish.
Very cool. If you'd like to come up for a tour, we're happy to do tours of the new building because it's pretty awesome. Okay, thank you. I think we've got everybody. And I'm going to move along. Oh, Director Rainbow, did I miss you? No, I can't hear you.
No, you didn't miss me, but something Director Pettigill just said, I thought, oh, I should mention something about that as well. So thank you for reminding me, Chris. You mentioned being at the touring the foundry and that Area D and District of Squamish have put some funding in. Mayor Elliott and I committed $140,000 towards the kitchen part of that project. But the day that Chris had his tour of the foundry, half the people did that, and I went to the loggers sports ground area and watched a log blessing, which I had absolutely no idea what I was going to, but it was an amazing experience. And this log is going to be carved into a totem pole, which is going to be installed right in front of the foundry when the building is finished. So I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks, having seen the raw log and gone through that whole ceremony of you know, they sort of clean it and bless it and pray over it, and it's quite an emotional ceremony. And so I'm really looking forward now, whenever it is, several months' time, seeing this totem pole installed. So not Area D itself, but Area D involved in a project in our neighboring municipality. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, I need a motion to receive. Moved by Director Birch-Jones, seconded by Director Demare. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Any other late business? Seeing none. So now we're in late business 11.1, which is the board appointments to the Flood Control Committee. So this doesn't change the intent, it just changes the committee name. I have someone make that motion. Moved by Director Mack, seconded by Director Birch-Jones. Any comments? Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. And 11 point, sorry. Yeah, no, that's right. Kristen, we're good? Yeah. Okay. 11.2, this is the request from SILGA for a call for nominations. Without Director Weeb here, Area B, Area A, would you like to be nominated to the SILGA board?
No.
Okay. Director Demare? No? Okay. All right. Well, we will receive then. Motion to receive. Moved by Director Birch-Jones, seconded by Director Demare. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. This is a request for a call for resolutions, and they're due February 25th. So I would suggest if you have anything, this is a great opportunity for us to advocate on behalf of the region in a public forum. So if anyone has any resolutions that you've been thinking about, please bring them to the January meeting and bring any supporting background information so that we can consider that in January in time for the deadline of February 25th. I have a motion to receive this letter. Moved by Director Birch-Jones, seconded by Director Herford. Any comments? Is there, oh, go ahead, Director Demare.
Yes, I think I'm going to have a couple to bring to SILGA.
Yeah.
I'll get them ready for the next board meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll call the question. Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. This is the letter from Brevka regarding essential travel that was put forward as late business. I believe this is a letter to receive because this has already been, Director Demare, did you want to speak to it?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Chair Ford. Yeah, definitely had some concerns, and we did get a reply from MLA Jackie Taggart's office, and apparently another MLA also requested very similar to what this is here, what the BRVC suggests. And one of the concerns moving forward, since the restrictions are going to be taken off on Monday, but the weight restrictions will still be on. So, but the essential travel aspect will be taken off. Is that down the road when something similar happens again, that you know, that the recommendations from this letter are, you know, that the ministry will hopefully look at them. So I know the ministry will reply to the BRVCA and I'll be CC'd, and I would look forward to the BRVCA, you know, replying back to them if something like that isn't included in the reply back from the ministry.
Okay, thank you.
So
And
I'll
would
move.
Move
I'll move.
received
Yep.
and seconded. Director Birch-Jones. Any further comments? Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. We're on 11.5, and this is the letter from the District of Squamish regarding the board appointments for the year of 2022. I have someone move receipt. Moved by Director Birch-Jones, seconded by Director Rainbow. Any further comments?
We get to vote?
Nope,
Oh,
it's their vote. They
Their
put whoever they want here, and we are grateful to the two of you for being here.
I thought we keep them
Yes,
here.
indeed.
I'm calling the question. Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. Are there any notice of motions from anybody? No. Seeing none. Okay. We are now, could I have someone move that we close the meeting? Kristen, I missed something.
Thanks, Chair. Item 14, which is the recommendations from the committee of the whole, and we've had the recommendation to the board regarding the ALR and potential impacts on our zoning bylaws. So that was a recommendation to the board that we need to vote. The board needs to vote on, please.
Okay, could I have someone move the recommendations from the committee of the whole, moved by Director Rainbow, seconded by Director Pettengill. Any comments? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And now a motion to close to the public. Moved by Director Birch-Jones, seconded by Director Demare. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Do you want 5 minutes?